Your source for all things Texas Tech. This is the Ask Level podcast from Double T 97.3.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome into another episode of the Ask Level podcast. Alongside Chris Level, I'm Chois Woodman. This podcast brought to you by our friends at Cantex Roofing and Construction, as usual.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
Chris Level, we are continuing to creep closer and closer to football season. Almost a week out now. How are we doing today?
Yeah, and you have college games this coming weekend.
That's right.
You have Florida State, Georgia Tech. I think SMU is in action.
Yeah,
a few other minor games and things like that. I think the NFL will have some last preseason action, and then So
new ACC team SMU, which is I still can't wrap my mind around. It's so weird.
And I heard Pat Forty with Yahoo and has been around covering college sports for a long time. He picked SMU to win the ACC. Wouldn't that ruffle some feathers?
Oh my goodness! yeah, we won't get paid by you guys, but we're going to come in and win the league. I'm not buying it, but it would sure make for a heck of a storyline in college football. That's for sure.
Heck yeah, man! I mean, it's like as we get closer to the season, just the scope of the sport, and we've talked about so many of these things that have happened, and I think that it's going to take people like seeing it in their face for them to go, oh wow, like this is real, this is tangible. I can reach out and touch it and see it. No SEC on CBS. Meaningful games much later in the season for many more teams because early season losses that theoretically don't hurt you depending on whether it's specifically non-conference if you go win your league, but and then there's other and having these playoff games. I mean, having the season end on January the 20th.
It's weird. It will be weird.
That's going to be really weird. And I'm worried that there could be some fatigue there I think we're going to all love the quarterfinal games, the opening round games, the quarterfinal, like when we're getting December the 20th, 21st, when we're getting New Year's Day.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Stuff. Probably the semifinals, but I just wonder how engaged is everybody all throughout with the NFL heating up at that point. There's some, I mean, we're talking about SMU. I mean, Florida State plays in Dallas this year. That is a massive game. I could argue that that's as big of a game for SMU as any game that they've ever played since the death penalty.
I would,
when they were ranked,
trouble arguing that
when they were cheating and doing different things, which now everybody's doing what they were doing. They were the gold standard. It just happened to be a Trans Am that was illegal. I mean, it's just so much to grasp here. But yeah, we're on the cusp for sure.
We are very much on the cusp and ready for it. What since we're kind of in no man's land right here. AP poll came out this week, and the Big 12 has 5 teams represented. If you look around rankings and preseason stuff, most have 5. You might see a 6th team thrown in there somewhere. But last year at this time, you had 3 preseason all Big 12 teams in the AP poll. Don't know if it means anything, but my first question for you, Level, is if you're putting a percentage on it, what percentage chance are you putting for the Big 12 to have more than one team in the college football playoff at the end of the year?
Yeah, I mean, you can answer it one way now, and then you can answer it again after West Virginia plays Penn State, Texas Tech plays Washington State, and a lot of those games are played out. This is exactly for this very reason. This exact question is why I just don't like, and I don't know if it was just lazy or if they weren't thinking about all of it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like Arizona playing Kansas State. Hey, it's not a conference game. It doesn't. I mean, because you are guaranteeing, if you're the Big 12, that one of your top 3 to 5 teams is guaranteed a loss.
Yep.
Heaven forbid Baylor rolls into Utah and wins that other non-conference game, because the Big 12 will be pointed at and made fun of for this 3-win team from last year that just went in to Salt Lake City and beat the favorite. And how would we be shocked and like totally like just stunned if Baylor rolled in there early in the season and beat Utah? I mean, I wouldn't be.
I mean, it was a 1 touchdown game last year, right?
Yes,
Those
that's what
two
I'm
teams
saying.
played, and Baylor was substantially lesser than Utah when it happened.
So
yeah,
yeah, there's just some landmines to kind of maneuver your way through here, and there's no avoiding the landmine that is Arizona and Kansas State, or Utah and Baylor. Although if Utah beats Baylor, it's not that much of a. But you get what I'm saying. That
sure.
a lot of what of your chances are going to be dictated in September here. I don't know if there's a bigger game in the Big 12 in the non-conference in total than West Virginia playing Penn State, because Penn State is, I think, ranked like 8th, give or take. Yeah, Iowa State plays Iowa. I mean, that's a field goal fest. It's in their contract where that game must be decided by like 2 points, and everybody must attempt 6 field goals and then just see who makes the most.
13-10, and you might want to take the under.
That's right. But these are the kinds of games that's really going to ultimately matter, because everybody's going to be looking and wanting any reason to go, come on, folks.
Yeah.
I mean, this 10 or 11 win team is nowhere near as good as this 3 or 4 loss team over here in this league, because look at the schedule that we played. I mean, for goodness sakes, that's just what your margin for error is, much smaller. I do think 2 things. I think that it's going to be very difficult for 2 teams to ultimately emerge away from everybody, which is a compliment to the depth of the league. That's going to be the beauty of this thing.
Yeah.
But I do think in year 1, you have a pretty good chance to get a second team in there. But I just don't know if I know what all of that looks like. What's the resume? What are the arguments? What's the whole thing looking like there? Just don't roll through the regular season and then in any way screw up the title game if you're the one team that ran away from the whole thing. But that may be the recipe. The recipe may be, in fact, a team rolls through the regular season and looks very impressive, and they win 10. They go 10-2, 11-1, and then they lose a close title game in Arlington, and then everybody goes, oh man, they may have screwed up and missed out, and they could have. I don't know, but then the team that upsets the dominant team in the regular season punches their ticket, and then maybe that's how the second team in the Big 12 ekes its way in. So
2 years ago, that would have happened with
Yep.
TCU and Kansas State. You would have had 2 teams in the college football playoff with one undefeated. And
exactly right. That's exactly the scenario that I'm talking about here. Absolutely, to a T. Yes. So yeah,
that might be the scenario. Do you think is a 10-win regular season Big 12 team? I don't want to say a lock because that's too strong, but
I don't.
Is that
I don't
close to a lock?
I don't know if we can. Yeah, I just, because there's too many unknowns.
Yeah,
I don't know what everybody else did. I don't know. I feel like this needs to be said too. Like, this is a big picture statement, not necessarily the statement for this argument, but I think the statement needs to be made because it's going to be true, that fan bases ultimately judge their team by, the 10-win season, the 11-win season, whatever. And I think certain blue blood type schools, if they have an 8-4 or a 9-3, it's like, fire them all. This is unacceptable here.
Yeah.
That may be fine for, blue and red state down the street,
Sure.
or green and yellow university over here, whatever.
Mhm.
But that's not what we do here. But I think that you're going to have to expand your, what your expectations are for this goes for everybody. If you're Bama, if you're Ohio State, if you're whoever, because it may not look the same as it's been. The leagues are bigger. The competition and theoretically could be a bit tougher, but it's also not the end all be all if you drop one.
Yeah.
You've got some more margin for error, I think, because I've even heard the argument that the fifth seeded team is like in the catbird seat because they get a home game. They more than likely get to play the group of 5. And then they get to play the 4th seeded team instead of like the first seed.
Yeah.
There's, you know what I mean?
Oh,
so
yeah.
there's some different dynamics at play there to where you could kind of argue that if you're the 5th seeded team in this new playoff, that's actually maybe yes, you may have to play an extra game, but
Yeah. And we've talked about it before, Level, but I think you are going to get some serious jealousy, not necessarily out of head coaches, but out of schools and administrations. You're going to get jealousy in seeds 1 through 4 for seeds 5 through 8, and being able to host another meaningful game on campus. In what will be the seeds 5 through 8 in the college football playoff, will host the biggest games they've ever had on campus ever.
Yeah.
You'll never have had bigger games on campus than what you've got there, because they mean more than any other game that you've had. So I think there's going to be some jealousy. I don't think we stay at 12 teams for long. I think it'll be 16 before too long, because that's a big reason for it. But yeah, it's I'm fascinated. I cannot wait for this season, just as a college football fan, because of the new playoff and all the elements that come with it, and the Big 12 effect too.
There's things too that we just don't envision. I just know as we localize it, but there's just things that we haven't thought about yet, or that haven't played out yet, or that we just don't have a full grasp of. And yeah, this year you've got a 2-minute warning, and you've got inter helmet communication, and there's some differences with the season, but from a Texas Tech standpoint, and just these Big 12 teams, I don't know how you ultimately judge your season.
Yeah,
is I guess what I'm saying, because you don't have a lot of margin for error. In that you could go 8-4, which we could view that as progress here, and have a chance to win a 9th game in the regular season. And again, hasn't been done around here just a lot.
You have not had an 8-win regular season last time. You know it?
Yes, I do. Was it not? Hold on. It was it not Cliff's first year?
No, you only won 7. 8-win regular season is what I'm saying. You went 7-5 that year. So last time was 3 coaches ago.
Yeah, because you started out 7-0.
2009.
Mike with the. Okay, so his
Mike
last
Leach's last year. You have not 15 years since Texas Tech's had an 8-win regular season, and you're right, because 8-4 should be celebrated. How you get to that 8-4, of course, it's all that matters, but it's crazy. It's been that long. And
yeah, so it's not like 8-4 is some failure or whatever. It's progress. No. Although Joey and everybody around there wants it to be more, and you want to.
Sure, they should.
You want to be in Arlington. That's where you can go. It's the holy grail to you right now, because you've never played for a conference championship.
The other thing is, more than likely, you have 16 teams in this league. You have a pretty big, meaty middle to this league, and there's a really good chance, Level, that you're going to have teams that feel like they should be in Arlington that get left out, whether that's 3 teams tied for first place, or 3 teams tied for second place, or an 8-1 team and 3 7-2 teams. So the way this is set up without divisions, I understand. We all remember the old Big 12, where it felt like the North was soft more often than not, and the South kind of got screwed at times. But the way it's set up, division lists, sets up for some potential frustration as well, where you may have some 7-2 teams, and we go to some
Yeah,
weird
because
tiebreakers.
do you know all of the intricacies of the tiebreakers?
I went through it this past week just out of curiosity, and there is some interesting stuff.
And do you have you have a full grasp of it? Like, could you build a flow chart? Like, if all these teams are like this, could you identify and be able to spit out? Are you there yet?
No, I'm not
Yeah,
there.
exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be that part in this league anyway will be pretty fascinating. But
Yeah.
we're gone are the days where everybody played everybody, and so the flow chart business or the spreadsheet or whatever, if this these teams go, if this those teams go, and it's going to be like that in late October, early November, all throughout until teams get eliminated and all those things. I find that as frustrating as this whole thing has been,
Mhm.
and the apple cart is just spilled out all over the floor, and
Yeah.
people in different parts of the country picked up those apples and claimed them, and now we're all doing the whole weird geography thing.
Oh man.
I will. This is one of the positives, I guess, is with these bloated leagues, is that there's that many more teams that have a chance and more meaningful football. It's going to take me a while to realize that when everybody's on the schedule in a weekend, there's 8 league games, man. 8.
Wow.
I mean,
That's great. I mean, if you like
compared to what
watching
it used to
football,
be, a
sure.
full slate was 5.
Yep.
I mean, five games.
Yes.
Morning, probably a couple of going next to each other in the middle of the day, and a couple in that. No, this is 8, folks.
Mhm.
You could double header each window. However, and then some of these games are going to get pushed into the Thursday, Friday night, all this business. But anyways, but yeah. So
Yeah.
I didn't mean to take up so much time, but yeah,
Oh,
we're getting really close to where this is all very meaningful.
Yeah, I didn't mean to spend that much time on that, but it's going to be so different for this year from a Texas Tech perspective, from a Big 12 perspective, and college football as a whole. I think that's one thing that's so intriguing about this year, and maybe even more buzz and excitement for college football going into it. Sticking with Big 12 conversation, we had a question from Jake. This one says, Level, who do you think is the most overrated team in the Big 12, and who is the most underrated?
I love this question because I have an easy answer for one of them and a pretty close or similar answer to the other.
Yeah.
Which one do you want first? Under or overrated?
Let's take the overrated first.
This is the easy one to me. I've maintained this. Do you know who I'm going to say?
I don't. I'm trying to figure.
I think this is a layup.
Is it Colorado?
No, because they're not rated. They're not. They're
It
not
depends
really in the,
who you're talking to, but as a
they're
whole,
not in the
no.
rated. To me, this is Kansas. This is
Okay.
absolutely an easy choice for me, and here's why. Because it's I've thought this out. They won, I think, 9 games last year.
For the bowl, yeah.
Yeah, and they lose their bowl game, I think. Or was
I thought
that
they lost
Iowa
2 years
State?
ago.
That was Iowa State.
No,
They lost.
no,
Yeah.
no. They beat UNLV last year.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they had that weird
2 years ago, they
game.
lost that against Arkansas in that.
Yeah, and like
thriller.
the snow and the Liberty Bowl. Yeah, it was Iowa State last year that I was thinking lost their bowl game. Anyways, long story short, I just think so much they've lost their OC. He was a stud. Coach Grimes is there now, but Andy Kotelnicki, he's at Penn State. I just think that's different. But it's like everybody else is getting points knocked off for potential injury-prone quarterbacks.
Yes.
And yet they have the most. He's the poster child.
Absolutely.
And when healthy, Jalen Daniels is phenomenal. I certainly get it. He was a preseason player of the year a year ago and then played in 3 games. And they don't have a Jason Bean sitting there this year ready to take the baton and keep the thing afloat. They've got, not near the – so that's – I just think it's a heck of a gamble. I think Lance Leipold's done a great job. This is not a shot at him. I think they had to they graduate some guys on defense that they're going to have to replace.
Yeah.
They do have, a really good running back and Devin Neal and all those things. I just think – and they don't, and here's the other thing. Here's the other major point. So one is potential injury prone to the QB, and 1A, They don't play one single home game.
Not a real one. Yeah.
So I mean, if you're talking about a team that's picked to do well that may fall short or well short of that, that's an easy choice to me. As far as underrated, I think this is a tie because neither one of them was ranked. This is a tie, and they're both on Texas Tech's schedule. And I don't know. I mean, I guess if you forced me to, I probably could pick one over the other. But this is an Iowa State, West Virginia conversation to me.
Okay.
I think, West Virginia did win 9 games last year. They bring a lot back. I do have a few questions about their offensive line. They're replacing Zach Frazier and some other huge pieces up front. Garrett Green is good most of the time. Is he good enough to take them to the next level? But with Iowa State, they heated up really late, and their issue has just been they just can't get started on time. But I mean, Matt Campbell did a phenomenal coaching job last year. When you look at the gambling deal, and they lost their quarterback, they lost 5 or 6 other players, and yet they salvaged it. And I think Rocco Becht was the freshman of the year. Abu Sama is a stud running back. That I think last time we saw him in the regular season anyway, he had like 270 against Kansas State in the snow. They've got a couple of NFL-ish type wideouts, a young tight end, and I think the majority of their offensive line are come back. Like 85% of their dudes come back.
Yeah.
And I think that Iowa State's in a good spot because they are underrated. It's typically whenever there's a lot of spotlight, that's when it doesn't go well, when they come off the radar. Because I think Iowa State, Oklahoma State, and Texas Tech are similar in these. Doubt them at your own peril, but when you praise them and like pump them up and like expect a whole lot, it's like you're gonna be disappointed. But those are, I don't, probably a long answer for an easy question, but that's what I would say.
I like them.
Yeah.
No one asked for mine, but my 2 would be Utah and UCF. Those are the 2.
UCF is a great candidate for underrated.
And part of it is they've got an easy schedule, kind of like Tech does too. Yeah.
The reason that I don't have any issue with Utah, you may be right. I'm a big coach guy. And I just think people like Gundy and Whittingham deserve the benefit of the doubt, like Kleiman. They've proven it. He's run the Pac-12 for several years. And so it's hard for me to take a shot and point at that they are overrated when they have that dude coaching them. And they don't lose at home. Now maybe that changes, and their fan base has gotten really mouthy and all those things. But that's why I would go with some of those other ones.
And really, when I say they're overrated, I fully expect them to finish top 4, top 5. But the fact that almost every publication out there has got them as a shoe-in to play in, if not win the Big 12 championship.
You remember that I say this. Write this down. Okay. Let's see how on August or mid-August, 18, 19, 20th, depending on when you're listening to this.
Yeah.
Kansas State and Utah basically are picked by pretty close to unanimous to play each other in Arlington.
Yeah.
It's not unanimous, but those are 1, 2.
Almost everybody's picking it.
Yeah. Neither one of them plays in Arlington. I said it.
Oh, okay.
I said it. Yeah, write it down.
Okay.
That's what we're going to deal with here.
Here's your bold proclamation for the season.
It really shouldn't be that much of a surprise.
No.
Because if that game is pegged correctly, it would be like the first time in a long time that it was. Because everybody screws up that media poll and these polls and all those kinds of things. That's just the way, and that's why we love this stuff so much, because it's impossible to pin it down. Injuries happen.
Yeah.
People end up being not near as good as you think. And then other people are like, dang, I thought they were supposed to be bad. And they're really, really good. This is the fun part. This is the beauty of it.
Sure.
So sorry, Utah. Sorry, Emaw. But you'll be at home. You'll be at home watching the game in Arlington this year.
Well,
I said
yeah,
it.
they both can't play because Tech's going to be in one of those spots. So I mean, we gotta. So yeah, I like that. I like that proclamation. It's a good one. And I think you're always the one that says it. That sports are the. I don't want to botch your quote, but sports are the best
Well,
reality
it's the
TV.
that there is.
I mean, yeah,
It's the
Be-
one thing. It's the one thing that the reason that so many dollars flow through them, like
sure.
from a TV standpoint, it's the one thing nobody tapes and fast forwards through the commercials or whatever. You must watch it live. It's everything else is like, yeah, I'll just skip to the good parts. No, that's not the way sports work.
Yeah,
And it's
I think there
yeah,
are 4 teams in the Big 12 this year that no one would be surprised if they won the league. There's probably 4 in that conversation. Then there's 9 total that no, it wouldn't be shocking if they're playing for the Big 12 championship.
it's much easier to take the teams at the bottom and say, if any of these teams did anything this year, it would stun me,
Yeah.
and everybody else is in play. That's the easier. Arizona State, Houston,
hmm
Cincinnati, Baylor. Am I missing anybody?
Colorado probably.
And I just wouldn't totally. They would be at the back of that. But when you have a quarterback like they have, that's going to be a first round draft pick. When you have arguably the best player in the sport in Travis Hunter,
Mhm.
I mean, it's.
Yeah, you
I
still,
mean,
as we've
do I
seen too
think
many
they
times,
have?
you still need a line to
You
be able
do?
to do
Do
stuff.
they have all the other pieces? Will
Yeah.
they? Can those guys stay healthy? Because they couldn't last year. At least Travis Hunter couldn't. But I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if like a couple of players were to carry them a bit and their margin for error
Yeah,
was
if
bigger
they got
than
to 7 or 8
some. But
wins, I wouldn't be shocked. But I think if they got all the way to the Big 12 championship, I'd be pretty darn surprised if
and who knows, maybe
Colorado
seven or
did
eight
that.
wins is good enough to get to Arlington with these tiebreakers that you're an expert of now.
I'm no expert by any means. All right, continuing with Big 12, Paolo from Twitter says, is Colorado really going to be a threat this year? They had the same amount of hype, if not more, last year and were more or less frauds.
I think their non-conference schedule is much tougher than it was last year. I mean, North Dakota State is who they open with. That is no joke. I
Mhm.
think Dion has even said some things like publicly, like "ha ha," but like kind of going, "Who scheduled this game?
Yeah,
What are we doing here?"
yeah.
They've got to go to Lincoln, which will be a hornet's nest for Colorado, and they've got Colorado State. And so, I mean, would it floor me if they were 0-3? Not really. I don't expect that, but I mean, they could be 1-2. Certainly, 2-1 would be. I think they'd be feeling pretty good about it. And last year, keep in mind, they were 3-0 after 3. What Colorado needs to do, I mentioned the star power they've got, and they have upgraded on paper, and they went and apparently paid for a lot of offensive linemen and things like that, and upgraded that spot, and they went quality over quantity. But there's a lot of said and written about this program. There is, I think, some depth issues at a variety of places on their team. And so I won't take them seriously at all until they're in mid-October and they've shown and proven to be consistent and have stayed healthy.
Yeah.
Because they had everybody, oohing and ahhing and everything into mid to late-ish September last year, and then the wheels just fell off. And then they were just, college game day and big noon kickoff wasn't really knocking on the door to show back up again. And they couldn't they
Mhm.
couldn't stop anybody. And they were just kind of an afterthought. And until they prove otherwise, that's kind of what you're looking at here. But we'll see. But Shedeur Sanders is a legit first round draft pick at quarterback, and that's heavy steps. Most teams in the country would take that if they could get if they had the
Of
equivalent.
course.
And then Travis Hunter, can he hold up? I don't know, but he is arguably, if it's not him, it's T Mac, the wideout from Arizona, that's the best player in the league, pure football player.
Yeah.
And these are first round draft pick types, is what you're dealing with here. So
This one from Linda on Twitter as well says, will Tech games be nationally televised this year? We are in Florida, don't like having to watch the Gators and Notre Dame all the time, and now the Longhorns.
You said Linda?
Linda, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if Linda was who I saw at the UCF game. This past, I had some folks that
Yeah.
listened to this show, and they were Tech fans living in Orlando and took advantage of that opportunity to see the Red
Nice.
Raiders up close, and whatnot. But if it is Linda, and if I did see you at that basketball game, appreciate you paying attention to what we do here. Most games should be nationally televised. I think the beauty of ESPN Plus is that anything on the ABC, ESPN ish, it's always available on the phone, iPad, whatever
Sure.
you've got going. And I think that is my one anti-streaming comment for the streaming thing. Now that we're all spilling over into this with college and pro sports,
Yeah.
because I feel like the NFL has got a little bit of their inventory on every freaking streaming
Every
service known to
option. Yeah.
man. My main complaint about the streaming thing, I don't mind streaming games as long as you're somewhere with obviously good internet. That's a key.
That
But the
matters.
main thing is you can't operate like a male likes to operate and flip around and flip channels and everything.
Agreed.
That's the most maddening thing. You're deep into your menu and then you're stuck, and it's like, well, okay, now it's gonna have to press this button 6 times, and then
Yeah.
if I want to ultimately go see something else and then to get back to where I wanted to, it's a lot. And it's I know real world problems or third world problems or whatever it is, but yeah,
First.
this is my complaint. And I
Yeah.
know I'm not the only one.
Oh, I
I'm
know
not the
you're.
only one.
Yeah, there's a lot of people with you. Like
Yeah.
we've got the quad box thing and all that that we love, so we can click on this game when we're ready. And yeah, first world problems, but definitely real problems.
What did I say? Third world? I
You
meant
said third
first
world. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
third world.
I mean, having a
Yeah.
TV is more of a
I'm all
third
over. I'm
world
all over the
problem.
place.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
that's right.
All right.
Sorry. Oops. That was a fumble. I turned it over right
You
there.
did.
That's
You did.
we
We'll
need to
get you.
work on my ball security there.
We'll work on it this fall camp
Uh,
for you. Get the hand on the nose of that football. Level, last one. This one is from JC. JC asks or says, saw Coach Stone lost his best soccer player this week. Does Texas Tech have the worst luck in the country when it comes to injuries, or am I just jaded?
Maybe it's because some of your injuries around here have been a little more higher profile.
Mhm.
Like you've always had a quarterback hurt. Last
lot.
year you had the one big man on your basketball team. You had the one, just the
Mhm.
one,
Just the
and
one.
he gets hurt. So, and this is also Tom. They won the Big 12 title last year. Yes,
They did. Yes, sir.
sometimes there's like a tax to be paid for that.
Came in ranked number 8 in the country.
Yeah,
This
there's
year,
like
so.
it's like win the title the year before tax that you must pay. I don't know, it's just
Ouch.
bad luck.
Yeah.
It's yeah, this one stings because she was going to be on some USA under
Yeah, the under 20 World
team.
Cup team.
Yeah. So heavy steps.
Which she would have missed part of the tax season for that, but obviously you'd have got her back during Big 12 play, and it's rough. Hate to see that. Sam Courtright is who we're talking about, and hate it for her more than anybody else. But
yes,
um,
luckily this is a young player that just is beginning her journey here.
Yep,
and
sophomore.
It's you've got a lot left as opposed to it being toward the end or whatever. But yeah, injuries, man. Injuries. So speaking of the reality TV and why we love it so much, injuries are just about darn sure the worst thing ever. It's just
Yeah,
it's
rough.
part of it. It's just, but it just gut punches a lot of the time.
Yeah,
it's people's identity, it's what they train and all that, but it's that plus minus that, man, we just got to keep everybody healthy. We got to get a little lucky.
yeah.
That's just the way it goes. And some of the contact sports like football and obviously soccer and some of the things we were talking about. I mean, how many starting pitchers over the years, like key starters, has Tim Tadlock had to shut down because of arm trouble?
So much.
And it always feels like it's your Friday night guy.
Yeah.
So
feels like it's more now than ever too. So
yeah,
and it's almost
more your high profile people.
It feels like a rite of passage if you're a pitcher and you haven't had your Tommy John surgery, and now in women's soccer too. You see, if you haven't torn an ACL at some point, it feels like that happens more often than not. So yeah, hate it for sure, but hopefully you can stay clean the rest of the way for Coach Stone's group and for the football team, and have relatively clean injury-wise seasons. Level,
Well, the
lot
next
crammed
time
in
we
there.
the next time we do one of these, it's game week.
That is correct. We will be entering game week when we do the next one of these.
How about that?
I love it.
How about that? How about that?
How about
And thank you to Cantex Roofing for supporting what we do here. Always enjoyed chopping it up. I feel like we didn't have much of we took a few little times off. I feel like we did a lot more this summer than we did last.
Yep.
Am I wrong?
We covered quite a bit this summer. Yeah. So
yeah, that's right.
yeah.
I mean, hashtag no days off.
not any coming up soon. That's for sure.
Yeah,
we are
that's
into it, and we will have games to talk about on this here podcast before we know it. One more without games, and then it will be. I mean, we'll actually have a few college football games in the books next time we talk.
I will expect a complete Florida State Georgia Tech breakdown the next time we reconvene, and I want to know how your ponies and Rhett Lashley, what that looked like against the Wolfpack.
Well, if I'm choosing ponies,
Nevada, I can't ever remember how to say it. I triggered folks one time when I was doing a basketball game. Eric Musselman was the basketball coach, and John Harrison and I were calling it. And this was the Wolfpack. I'm just gonna say that they were like ranked top 10 in the country. They only had like 6 or 7 dudes.
Yeah,
but they were legit, and they were like 8th or whatever as a non-conference game. And I kept saying the name of the state incorrectly according to the fine folks that live there. I was not trying to take a shot. I think, put the wrong emphasis on the A, short A, long A, whatever. Yeah, whatever. I don't know, but it's always, it messes with my head. When I'm going to Las Vegas, I don't ever mention the name of the state.
Just Vegas, baby. Yeah, that's all it is.
That's right. Yeah,
so I think your ponies there are 27.5-point favorites going into the bet.
My ponies.
We'll claim them both as ponies if the other option is Horned Frogs, right? We'll definitely claim the ponies in that situation. So, yeah. All right, man. We will we'll do this again next week. Appreciate you.
Yes, we will. I appreciate it. Enjoy the week, and we'll talk to everybody next time.
That's Chris Level. I'm Chois Woodman. You've been tuned in to the Ask Level podcast, brought to you by Double T 97.3.
You've been listening to the Ask Level podcast, powered by Double T 97.3.